Hello friends, and thank you so much for tuning into this video. Once again, I'm grateful for you. If you're new here, hello. This video isn't going to be too much of a long one, more of like a really informative one I think that the general public needs to hear. Okay, in this video I'm going to be talking about Phalaenopsis orchid care. One of, I feel like, those things in the plant world that no one, let me not like hype myself. I didn't properly know how to take care of a Phalaenopsis orchid until about a year ago, frankly. So it's one of those things that they're very common in stores. Obviously they're sold when they're blooming and then their blooms die, and a lot of people think that their plant is just done, right? And so I just want to go ahead and talk about it because that's not the case. It is a lazy Sunday. I got the day off. Like, my hair was up all day and I decided to take it down, and so this is what you see is what you get. However, let's get into it. Okay, so here is one of my Phalaenopsis orchids. Now you'll notice that it's potted into this clear plastic orchid pot. You can see there's holes in it. However, earlier this year when I potted it, my house was very dry. In the winter it gets very dry, so I needed to cover some of the holes. It's still getting plenty of air, but it just wasn't retaining enough moisture. And so that's how I decided to deal with that. And it's growing beautifully. They're growing beautifully. This one doesn't have any like visible roots, but most of my most of my orchids have roots that are just like overgrowing everywhere. So, excuse me. So this particular orchid just dropped this flower. This flower was on there for like a good 4 months, maybe more. I'd probably say more. However, it was like somewhere over here. I think it might have been this one. Yeah. And it recently just fell off. Now, a lot of people think, well, it's done, it's over, throw it away. No. First, I like to take out the stake that's often in Phalaenopsis orchids when you purchase them from like a big box store. I personally like when Phalaenopsis orchids kind of just like go wild and do their own thing with their spikes. Yeah, it's just cool to me. And so at this point, oh, let me talk about the potting mix too. This is Miracle-Gro orchid mix. I believe I mixed it with some more stuff, but I can't remember. I definitely put some sphagnum moss in it because, again, I needed some moisture. But I would also recommend Soul Soil's orchid mix if you're willing to, you know, spend a little more money for your soil. However, Miracle-Gro soil mix will do. That's what this one's in. And so as you'll see in the spikes, that spike, yeah, that spike is flowered. It's opened and it's dried up in there. You see? It's open. It's not laid flat against the rest of the spike. This one, see, it kind of is laid a little flatter and it's not open. You can't see the inside of that little crevice. And so that, right above that is where you want to cut your spike. So I'm gonna do right above here. I'll want you to be able to see while I do it. So I'm gonna go like that. And so wait a couple months and this baby will be rebloomed. And I want to show you, I also want to show you an example of, you know, a rebloomed Phalaenopsis orchid that I bought it with its first bloom, and then, you know, I cut down its spike, and then it's on its second bloom now. So you would go ahead and water this like you normally would. Another thing I wanted to address in this video is I previously worked at a florist. I loved it, but the place I was working was just not sustainable for me. However, like, my dream one day is to open like a nursery, and ideally I would also like sell cut flowers and all this cool stuff. Anyway, I would hear a lot of people talk about this ice cube thing, like this ice cube BS, where you put one ice cube in your orchid a week, and like, theoretically, I guess the amount of water that it would be receiving, no, it still doesn't make sense. It still doesn't make sense. When you buy a Hoya from a big box store, you like 1,000,000,000% should repot it in a more breathable pot with orchid bark, maybe a little bit of sphagnum, definitely some big chunky peat moss. Perlite, excuse me. There's some big chunky perlite in here. And when you water your orchid, because it's gonna dry out, right? The potting medium does not retain a lot of moisture, and there's a lot of holes, so ideally it should be drying out, right? The symbiotic relationship, typically in the wild, in its natural environment, this would be on a tree, so it's not like potted in the ground receiving moisture from the soil 24/7. This needs a good drench every so often. I maybe water once a week, and some people would say that's still too much, but my orchids, you know, like it and are doing well. Just the ice cube thing is just so weird. That's not even enough water to really like water it. However, yes. So I have two orchids. This guy recently rebloomed. It's beautiful. Gorgeous. Another thing I wanted to mention is when I water, I fertilize with every watering. I see, you know, Miracle Grow brand orchid fertilizer. I don't personally think that orchids and all of your other houseplants need different fertilizer. Maybe I'm wrong, but personally, I use my Miracle Grow fertilizer in my orchids, my regular Miracle Grow houseplant fertilizer, and I dilute it with every watering, just like all my other plants. So I've had good results with that, and I also use this every once in a while just for shits and gigs. And they seem to like it. I have this rebloom as well. Very pretty. So I love it. So pretty. I also have this other one, so funny. It wasn't over here previously. It was like directly under a grow light, and so it rebloomed, but it was so small. Like it's so funny. I don't know. It rebloomed like so close to the base of the plant. I thought that was very interesting, and it's not even like a spike. It just like came out from between two leaves. Like, it's so wild. So that was kind of interesting. But, ooh, wow, I just See that noodle I just broke? I just broke a noodle. Ah. I wish you could just like glue plants back together, you know what I mean? I do have one other no ID orchid, but it's all the way back here. I'm not even gonna show. Maybe I can just show like this. It's like all the way back there. Oh, excuse, I did some sulfur treatments. I literally painted sulfur on like 95% of my plant collection today, so you'll see that in another video. Anyway, I haven't experimented with any other types of orchid, but in the future I'm excited to. Orchids are just so pretty. I love flowering plants. It's just so rewarding to see your hard work pay off with like a pretty flower. It's great. So I hoped you all enjoyed that very, very short but informative video. Please do not throw away the Phalaenopsis orchids that you buy at the grocery store or that you're gifted for some kind of event or holiday, because they will rebloom. You just gotta give them some love and they will reward you. And you gotta know like how to cut the spikes, blah blah blah. It's tricky, but you know what I mean. Like this needs to be a PSA. This needs like, anyway. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much. It's a short one, but very important. Everyone needs to know how to care for their orchids. Let me know if there's anything I missed. Please ask any questions you may have in the comments. I will totally share my experience with growing and reflowering Phalaenopsis orchids. And let me maybe let me know what orchids I should try next. There's this one really cool woman who I forget her plant channel name, but she has like a bunch of different orchids and she lives like in an apartment in New York, and I watched like one of her videos today about how she got started, and it's just so cool to hear everyone's stories about, you know, how they really delve into this life, because once you start, okay, bye for real.